In the quiet, unassuming suburb of San Carlos, hidden behind the walls of a modest condo, a dark story begins to unfold. It's a story that will grip this community and leave a mark on all who hear it. As we peer into the dimly lit rooms, shadows stretch across the floor, whispering secrets of what transpired. This is the home of Regina Johnson, a woman whose life was about to become the center of a chilling tale. The night stands still as we listen in on a voice that is hauntingly calm, yet filled with unspeakable weight. It's Regina herself, reaching out through the phone, her voice steady as she reports, "Yes, I need to report, there's been a shooting, my husband and daughter." Her words hang in the air, a stark contrast to the horror they describe. What happened in these rooms? What could drive a mother and wife to the brink? As we journey through this story, we'll unravel the mysteries and motives behind the acts that shook this quiet neighborhood. Was it desperation, or something far more sinister? Join us as we uncover the layers of Regina Johnson's story, a tale as complex as it is heartbreaking. Thank you for joining us on this gripping exploration of a story that has captivated and confounded many. If you find yourself drawn into the mysteries we unravel, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring more captivating stories to light and ensures you won't miss any of our future true crime documentaries. Now, let's continue to uncover the layers of the Regina Johnson case. As we fade from the haunting images of the crime scene, we enter a world filled with warmth and memories, a world captured in the soft glow of family photographs and the laughter in home videos. The Johnson family, like so many others, appeared to be woven together by bonds of love and shared experiences. Before the tragedy that would alter their lives forever, the Johnsons seemed like any other family, facing life's challenges yet sharing moments of joy and love. Now, let's journey into their lives, to understand the people behind the headlines. Regina Johnson, at 60 years of age, was a woman of remarkable resilience and strength. To those who knew her, she was more than just a mother and wife, she was the anchor that held her family together through life's storms. Regina's world was one of dedication, whether it was nurturing her family or engaging with the community around her. Her career was a testament to her hard work, though it often left her time-starved. In her rare moments of leisure, she found solace in gardening, where she cultivated life and beauty in her backyard. But behind the facade of this strong woman lay shadows that grew longer with time. Regina struggled silently with the weight of depression, a battle she fought with courage but one that increasingly cast a shadow over her life. Her vulnerabilities, hidden beneath a stoic exterior, made her a deeply complex figure. A woman of both strengths and fragile moments. Beside her stood Reuben Johnson, a man of 56 years, whose outward appearance spoke of success and stability. Reuben was a provider, diligent in his work and dedicated to ensuring the comfort of his family. His professional achievements were many, marking him as a respected figure in his field. Outside of work, he was known for his love of sports and social gatherings, where his laughter was often the loudest in the room. Yet, beneath his seemingly stable exterior, there were whispers, rumors of infidelity that hinted at cracks in the foundation of their marriage. These whispers painted a picture of a man who, despite his outward success, faced internal struggles and questions. At the heart of the Johnson family was Aaliyah, their 14-year-old daughter. Aaliyah was the embodiment of youth and promise, a bright and talented girl whose eyes sparkled with dreams and aspirations. Her presence was like a breath of fresh air, infusing the household with laughter and hope. In school, she excelled, earning the admiration of her teachers and the love of her friends. Her involvement in various activities showcased her vibrant spirit and boundless energy. Aaliyah shared a particularly close bond with her mother, Regina.
And Aaliyah, she was the love of my life. In fact, not only was she the love of my life, Aaliyah was my life. It was just the two of us, like this.
To Regina, Aaliyah was more than just a daughter, she was her shining light, a beacon amidst the shadows of her struggles. Their relationship was a sanctuary, one filled with mutual understanding and unconditional love. But as the camera gently pans over these cherished family moments, the voiceover softly reminds us, behind these smiles were brewing tensions that would soon come to a head, leading to a day that would change everything. The stage is set for a narrative that will unravel the complexities of their lives, a story of love, struggle, and the unforeseen events that forever altered the Johnson family. On the morning of May 30, 2012, the peace of the San Carlos neighborhood was shattered by a horrifying event that would forever scar the community. Inside the Johnson home, nestled in the heart of a quiet suburb, what started as a typical day quickly descended into chaos and violence. As dawn broke, the Johnson family awoke to another ordinary morning. Yet, beneath the surface, tension simmered, ready to explode. What happened next would unfold in a tragic sequence of events that no one could have anticipated. In the intimacy of their living room, a heated argument erupted between Regina and her husband, Ruben. Voices rose, echoing through the halls of their once peaceful home. Aaliyah, their bright and hopeful 14-year-old daughter, entered the room, drawn by the discord that had invaded her sanctuary. In a moment that defies reason, the argument escalated beyond words. Regina Johnson, amidst a cloud of fear and desperation, grabbed a firearm, a weapon meant for protection now turned against her own family. With trembling hands and a heart racing with adrenaline, Regina fired the gun. The scene that followed was one of unimaginable horror. Aaliyah, caught in the crossfire of her parents' conflict, was struck. Her dreams and her life were abruptly ended in the space of a heartbeat. Ruben, too, fell victim to the violence, his life extinguished by the same weapon wielded by the woman he once called his wife. As the smoke cleared and silence filled the room, Regina stood alone amidst the devastation, the realization of her actions crashing over her like a tidal wave. The home, once filled with life and laughter, now lay in eerie stillness, marked by the tragic loss of innocence and love. Every detail of the crime scene told a story, of a family destroyed, of lives abruptly ended. The positions of the bodies, the trajectory of the bullets, the scattered remnants of everyday life, all painted a picture of the chaos that had ensued. It was a story written in the language of desperation and irrevocable choices. Regina's path through the house, from confrontation to catastrophe, was marked by frantic steps and desperate decisions. Each move she made, each action she took, was a step deeper into a nightmare from which there was no escape. As we piece together the events of that fateful morning, we seek not only to understand the crime itself but also the complex emotions and circumstances that led to such a devastating conclusion. This is the story of a moment in time, a moment that forever altered the lives of all it touched. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, casting its light over a neighborhood now cloaked in shock, the San Carlos Police Department sprang into action. Within hours, the quiet street was transformed into the epicenter of a meticulous investigation, as detectives and forensic experts arrived to unravel the grim mystery of what had transpired inside the Johnson home. Inside the condo, the scene was both haunting and silent, frozen in the aftermath of the morning's violence. The air was thick with the echoes of the tragedy, and every corner held clues waiting to be discovered by the skilled eyes of the investigators. Detectives began their work with a careful, deliberate precision. The room where the tragedy unfolded was a puzzle of scattered belongings, overturned furniture, and the telltale traces of chaos. Blood spatter analysis became a crucial tool, painting a vivid picture of the sequence of events. Each drop and streak told a story, revealing angles and distances, helping to map out the fateful movements of that morning. The forensic team meticulously collected fingerprints from surfaces throughout the home. Every touch, every brush of skin against furniture or walls, was preserved as a potential key to understanding who was where, and when. The gun, the chilling instrument of the crime, was carefully dusted for prints and analyzed for DNA. This vital evidence would be pivotal in piecing together the truth. Outside the confines of the Johnson home, the investigation extended into the community. Retired detectives, seasoned by years on the force, were brought in to lend their expertise. Their insights, honed by countless cases, were invaluable as they sifted through evidence and testimonies. In interviews, these experts shared the challenges they faced. The complexity of the crime scene, the emotional weight of a family torn apart, and the pressure to deliver justice, all these factors added layers to an already intricate investigation. Forensic experts spoke of the delicate balance between science and intuition, the need to follow the evidence while understanding the human stories behind it. Amidst the methodical gathering of evidence, interviews with neighbors and acquaintances painted a broader picture of the Johnsons' lives. Each testimony added depth and dimension, revealing the hidden tensions and unspoken emotions that had simmered beneath the surface. Yet, despite the wealth of evidence, questions lingered. What had driven Regina to such desperate actions? Were there signs missed, cries for help unheard? The detectives knew that answering these questions was crucial not just for the case, but for the community seeking closure and understanding. As days turned into weeks, the investigation unfolded with unwavering focus. Each piece of evidence, from the tiniest fiber to the DNA profiles, was analyzed and reanalyzed, ensuring that no detail was overlooked. It was a painstaking process, one that required patience, perseverance, and a commitment to justice. In the end, the investigation was a tapestry woven from countless threads of evidence, each one contributing to the larger picture of that fateful morning. It was a testament to the dedication of those who sought to uncover the truth, to bring clarity to the chaos, and to find answers in the midst of tragedy. As the investigation into the tragic events at the Johnson home continued, the true story behind the violence began to emerge, piece by piece. At the center of this unfolding narrative was Regina Johnson herself, a woman whose life had been irrevocably shattered by the events of that fateful morning. When Regina was finally brought before the court, her composure was a fragile mask, barely concealing the turmoil that consumed her. In the sterile confines of the courtroom, she faced the daunting task of presenting her side of the story, a narrative that would challenge the assumptions and unravel the prevailing theories. With trembling hands and a voice that wavered with emotion, Regina recounted the events that had led to the devastating confrontation. She painted a picture of a marriage that had long been tainted by the shadows of Reuben's infidelity, a betrayal that had slowly eroded the foundation of their relationship. In the days and weeks leading up to that fateful morning, Regina had found herself increasingly isolated, her cries for help and understanding falling on deaf ears. Reuben's affairs had become an open secret, a source of humiliation and pain that Regina had borne with a stoic resilience, for the sake of her family. But on that day, the pressure had become too much to bear. As the argument escalated, Regina found herself cornered, both physically and emotionally. Reuben, in a fit of rage, had turned violent, his hands closing around her throat in a chilling display of aggression. In that moment, Regina's survival instinct kicked in, and she reached for the nearest means of defense, the gun that was meant to protect her family. With anguished tears streaming down her face, Regina recounted the chaos that followed, her voice cracking as she described the unimaginable horror of watching her daughter, her beloved Aaliyah, fall victim to the violence. "I never meant for this to happen," she pleaded, her words laced with a grief so profound it threatened to consume her. Regina's testimony painted a picture of a woman driven to the brink, a mother who had resorted to the most unthinkable of actions in a desperate attempt to save her own life. The courtroom hung in a tense silence, as the jurors and spectators grappled with the weight of her words and the complexity of the situation. Forensic experts and investigators took the stand, meticulously analyzing the evidence and corroborating key details of Regina's account. Blood spatter patterns, the positioning of the bodies, and the trajectory of the bullets all seemed to lend credence to her claim of self-defense against an abusive and volatile husband. Yet, the question that lingered in the air was one of culpability. Was Regina's action a tragic but justifiable response to a life-threatening situation, or was there more to the story? The jury faced the daunting task of separating the emotion from the facts, of determining where the line between victim and perpetrator truly lay. As the trial unfolded, the narrative shifted, revealing the depth of the Johnsons' marital strife and the cracks that had long been present in their seemingly perfect family. Regina's story, once shrouded in mystery, now stood as a testament to the complex realities that can lurk beneath the surface of any life. As the trial progressed, the prosecution stepped forward, determined to present a case that would challenge the narrative put forth by Regina Johnson. In the face of her emotional testimony, the prosecution knew they had to build a compelling argument that would sway the jury and the court. The lead prosecutor, a seasoned veteran with a reputation for meticulous attention to detail, approached the case with steely determination. Meticulously combing through the evidence, he and his team sought to uncover the deeper, more complex motives that may have driven Regina to commit such a devastating act. Central to the prosecution's case was the issue of Regina's mental health. Delving into her history, they painted a picture of a woman who had long struggled with the debilitating weight of depression, a condition that had slowly eroded her ability to cope with the stresses of her life. Witnesses were called to the stand, each one contributing a piece to the mosaic of Regina's mental state. Colleagues from her workplace described a woman who had become increasingly withdrawn and distracted, her once vibrant personality dimming with each passing day. Friends and family members spoke of the subtle changes they had observed, the growing sense that Regina was slipping away, even as she maintained a stoic facade. The prosecution argued that Regina's fragile mental health, combined with the strain of her troubled marriage, had created a volatile cocktail of emotions. They contended that on the morning of the tragedy, Regina's judgment had been impaired, her actions driven not by self-defense, but by a deteriorating grip on reality. To bolster their case, the prosecution presented damning evidence of Reuben's infidelity, painting him as a man who had betrayed his wife and family. Witnesses came forward with accounts of Reuben's affairs, and financial records revealed the money he had diverted to fund his secret relationships. In the courtroom, the prosecutors meticulously laid out their theory of the crime. They argued that Regina, consumed by the pain of her husband's betrayal and the weight of her own depression, had orchestrated a premeditated act of violence. The gun, they claimed, was not a tool of self-preservation, but a weapon of retaliation, wielded with intent to kill. Legal experts, brought in to provide insight into the prosecution's strategy, spoke of the delicate balance they had to strike. They had to present a compelling case that would not only challenge Regina's narrative but also sway the jury's emotions and sense of justice. "It's not enough to simply present the facts," one prosecutor explained. "We have to create a narrative that resonates, that makes the jury feel the gravity of the situation. Regina's story may be heartbreaking, but we have to show that her actions were unforgivable." As the trial progressed, the tension in the courtroom was palpable. The prosecution's case unfolded with a calculated precision, each piece of evidence and testimony carefully woven together to paint a portrait of a woman consumed by her own demons, driven to commit an unthinkable act of violence. As the trial unfolded, the courtroom became a stage upon which the fate of Regina Johnson would be determined. The air was thick with anticipation, the tension palpable as the jurors, the spectators, and the participants in this high-stakes drama prepared to bear witness to the unfolding narrative. The first witness to take the stand was Aaliyah's best friend, a young girl whose eyes were red-rimmed with unshed tears. Her trembling voice recounted the vibrant, joyful Aaliyah she had known, painting a vivid portrait of a life cut tragically short. The courtroom fell silent as she described the last time she had seen her friend, the laughter they had shared, never knowing it would be their final goodbye. Next, a retired police detective, grizzled by years on the force, took the stand. His testimony provided a chilling account of the crime scene, the positions of the bodies, and the evidence that had been meticulously gathered. With a steady hand, he presented the forensic analysis, the blood spatter patterns, and the trajectory of the bullets, a cold, calculated recitation of the events that had unfolded that fateful morning. Regina's own sister, a woman whose face was etched with a lifetime of sorrow, recounted the changes she had witnessed in her sibling. She spoke of the growing distance, the haunted look in Regina's eyes, and the desperate pleas for help that had fallen on deaf ears. Her testimony painted a heartbreaking picture of a woman slowly unraveling, her cries for understanding muffled by the weight of her burdens. As the trial progressed, the courtroom became a battlefield of competing narratives. The prosecution's case, meticulously constructed, sought to undermine Regina's claim of self-defense, painting her as a woman consumed by her own demons. Expert witnesses testified to the intricacies of mental health, the debilitating effects of depression, and the potential for such conditions to cloud one's judgment. In response, Regina's defense team fought back with fervent determination. They called upon Ruben's former mistresses, who took the stand with reluctant eyes and trembling voices, corroborating the prosecution's claims of infidelity. The jurors sat in stunned silence as the sordid details of Ruben's betrayal were laid bare for all to see. The most gut-wrenching moment came when Regina herself returned to the witness stand, her composure shattered as she relived the events of that fateful morning. With tears streaming down her face, she recounted the violent confrontation, the desperate struggle for survival, and the unimaginable tragedy that had unfolded before her eyes. The courtroom, once filled with the din of legal arguments, fell into a profound hush as her anguished words echoed through the halls. As the trial neared its conclusion, the jury was left to grapple with the complexities of the case, the tangled web of emotions and circumstances that had led to this devastating outcome. The weight of their decision hung heavy in the air, for they knew that their verdict would not only determine Regina's fate but also shape the legacy of the Johnson family forever. In the end, the trial became a crucible, a test of the justice system's ability to navigate the murky waters of human tragedy. The jurors were tasked with the unenviable challenge of separating the facts from the emotion, of determining where the line between victim and perpetrator truly lay. Their decision would echo through the community, a verdict that would forever change the course of Regina's life and the lives of all those she had once held dear. The final moments of the trial unfolded with a palpable tension that hung heavy in the air, as the jury prepared to deliver their verdict on the fate of Regina Johnson. The courtroom, once a stage for the clash of competing narratives, now held its breath, waiting with bated anticipation for the words that would forever change the course of one woman's life. For days, the jurors had wrestled with the intricacies of the case, sifting through the evidence, weighing the testimony, and grappling with the profound complexities that lay at the heart of this tragedy. They had heard the prosecution's impassioned arguments, the defense's emotional appeals, and the haunting recollections of those who had borne witness to the events that had shattered the Johnson family. As the foreman rose to deliver the verdict, the courtroom fell into a hush so profound that the sound of a pin drop could have echoed like thunder. Every eye was fixed upon him, every breath held in suspense, as the words that would determine Regina's fate hung in the air, pregnant with significance. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Regina Johnson." The foreman's voice, steady yet weighted with the gravity of the decision, filled the room, each syllable cutting through the silence like a knife. The tension in the air was palpable, the air thick with the collective anticipation of all those present. For some in the audience, the verdict was a long-awaited resolution, a chance to see justice served. Others, however, found themselves gripped by a sense of unease, their hearts heavy with the understanding that no matter the outcome, a family had been shattered, and lives had been irrevocably changed. One juror, a middle-aged woman whose eyes had seen the weight of the world, spoke of the agonizing deliberations that had taken place behind closed doors. It wasn't an easy decision, she confided, her voice tinged with the burden of responsibility. We knew that whatever we decided would have profound consequences. Another juror, a young man whose idealism had been tempered by the realities of the case, recounted the moments of heated debate, the clashing of perspectives, and the ultimate need to set aside their emotions and focus on the evidence. "It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do," he admitted, his gaze downcast. "I'm not sure any of us will ever be the same." As the verdict was read, a hush fell over the courtroom, broken only by the muffled sobs of those who had been touched by the tragedy. Regina, her composure shattered, wept openly, the weight of the decision crashing down upon her. In that moment, the humanity of the situation was laid bare, a reminder that even in the pursuit of justice, there are no true winners, only those left to pick up the pieces of shattered lives. The aftermath of the verdict would reverberate through the community, sparking discussions and debates that would linger long after the courtroom had fallen silent. For the Johnsons, the journey towards healing and understanding had only just begun, a path fraught with the challenges of reconciling the past and rebuilding a future in the wake of unimaginable loss. As the final gavel fell, signaling the end of the trial that had captivated the nation, the true weight of the verdict began to sink in. The Johnson family, once a symbol of the American dream, had been irrevocably shattered, their lives forever altered by the events of that fateful day. For Regina, the woman at the heart of this tragic saga, the courtroom's decision was a crushing blow, a sentence that condemned her to a future shrouded in uncertainty. The once vibrant and determined woman had been reduced to a shadow of her former self, her eyes haunted by the ghosts of her past. In the aftermath of the trial, Regina's supporters rallied, their cries for leniency echoing through the halls of the justice system. They painted a portrait of a woman driven to the brink, a victim of domestic abuse and mental anguish, whose actions, while unthinkable, were born of a desperate need to survive. But the prosecution, unwavering in their conviction, argued that Regina's crime was unforgivable, a premeditated act of violence that had robbed a young life of its promise. They insisted that she be held accountable, that the scales of justice be balanced, no matter the personal cost. As the sentencing phase unfolded, the courtroom once again became a stage for the battle of narratives. Regina's defense team fought tirelessly, presenting mitigating evidence and pleading for leniency, while the prosecution remained steadfast in their pursuit of a harsh punishment. In the end, the judge, burdened by the weight of the decision, delivered a sentence that sent shockwaves through the community. Regina, the woman once revered as a devoted wife and mother, was condemned to a lengthy prison term, her future shrouded in the shadows of a system that had deemed her unforgivable. The Johnson family, already reeling from the devastation, now faced the daunting task of rebuilding their lives in the wake of this tragedy. Reuben's family, their grief compounded by the loss of their son, struggled to find solace in a world that had been forever changed. As Regina's appeals process unfolded, the community remained divided, some calling for her release, others demanding that she serve the full extent of her sentence. The debate raged on, fueled by the complexities of the case and the eternal question of what constitutes justice in the face of such unimaginable loss. For Regina, the years that followed were a slow, agonizing march towards a future that seemed to hold little promise. Within the confines of the prison walls, she grappled with the weight of her actions, her heart heavy with the knowledge that she had forever altered the course of her family's legacy. And as the years passed, the echoes of the Johnson tragedy continued to reverberate through the community, a cautionary tale of the fragility of the human condition and the devastating consequences that can arise when the bonds of love and trust are irreparably broken. As the dust settled on the Johnson family tragedy, the reverberations of the case began to be felt far beyond the confines of the courtroom. The story of Regina, Reuben, and Aaliyah had become a catalyst for a much broader conversation, one that delved into the pressing societal issues that had contributed to the unfolding of this devastating sequence of events. Chief among these was the issue of mental health, a topic that had been central to the prosecution's case against Regina. Experts in the field of psychology and psychiatry were called upon to lend their insights, shedding light on the debilitating impact of conditions like depression and the ways in which they can erode an individual's ability to cope with the stresses of life. Statistics were presented, painting a sobering picture of the prevalence of mental health challenges in communities across the nation. Researchers shared data on the correlation between untreated mental illness and the increased risk of violence, underscoring the urgent need for greater awareness, access to resources, and a shift in the way society perceives and addresses these critical issues. Alongside the discussion of mental health, the case of the Johnson family also thrust the topic of domestic violence into the spotlight. Advocates and survivors alike stepped forward, sharing their personal stories and the harrowing realities that far too many individuals face within the confines of their own homes. Powerful testimonies revealed the insidious nature of abusive relationships, the ways in which control and manipulation can erode the self-worth and agency of victims. Case studies were presented, highlighting the complex dynamics that can trap individuals in cycles of violence, even when the outward appearance of a family suggests a picture of domestic bliss. The Johnsons' story is not an isolated incident, one expert explained, her voice tinged with a somber gravity. It is a tragic reflection of the systemic failures that allow domestic violence to thrive in the shadows, often hidden from the very people who could intervene and provide support. As the broader implications of the case were explored, the audience was left grappling with the sobering realization that the Johnson family tragedy was not just a singular event, but a symptom of deeper societal ills that demanded urgent attention and action. Calls for reform echoed through the halls of government and the corridors of civil society. Policymakers pledged to allocate more resources towards mental health services and domestic violence prevention programs, while grassroots organizations mobilized to raise awareness and empower those trapped in the cycle of abuse. In the end, the legacy of the Johnson family would not be defined solely by the tragedy that had unfolded, but by the lasting impact it had on the collective consciousness of the nation. Their story had become a catalyst for change, a rallying cry for a society that must confront the demons that lurk beneath the surface, and work tirelessly to prevent such devastation from ever occurring again. As the final chapter of the Johnson family tragedy unfolded, the weight of its impact continued to reverberate through the community, leaving an indelible mark on all those who had borne witness to its unfolding. In the aftermath of the trial, the once pristine neighborhood where the Johnsons had made their home had become a place of somber reflection, a constant reminder of the fragility of the human condition and the devastating consequences that can arise when the delicate balance of a family is shattered. For those who had followed the case, the emotions that had been stirred were complex and multifaceted. There were those who condemned Regina, their sense of justice unwavering in the face of her actions. Others, however, saw in her a reflection of their own struggles, a woman pushed to the brink by the relentless pressures of life. The debate surrounding the case continued to rage on, fueled by the passionate arguments of those who sought to uncover the deeper truths that lay buried beneath the surface. Was Regina a victim, a woman driven to the edge by the weight of her own mental anguish and the betrayal of her husband? Or was she, as the prosecution had argued, a calculating perpetrator, her crime unforgivable regardless of the circumstances? These were the questions that lingered, haunting the collective consciousness of a society grappling with the complexities of human nature and the systemic failures that had allowed such a tragedy to unfold. As the years passed, the Johnson family's story became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of the urgent need to address the underlying issues that had contributed to their downfall. Mental health awareness campaigns were launched, domestic violence support services were expanded, and policymakers worked tirelessly to enact reforms that would prevent such devastating losses from occurring in the future. Yet, even as progress was made, the shadow of the Johnson family's tragedy remained, a constant reminder that the path to true healing and understanding is often paved with the most profound of challenges. So, as we reflect on the events that unfolded in that quiet suburban neighborhood, let us ask ourselves, what more can we do to support those struggling with mental health issues? How can we create a society that empowers victims of domestic abuse to seek help without fear? And most importantly, how can we ensure that no family ever has to endure the unimaginable pain that the Johnsons were forced to bear? For in the answers to these questions lies the possibility of a future where such tragedies are not merely cautionary tales, but a catalyst for lasting change. A future where every family can find the strength to weather the storms of life, and emerge stronger, more resilient, and more connected than ever before. As we've witnessed the unfolding of the Johnson family's tragic story, it's clear that their journey has touched us all in profound ways. The complexities of this case have challenged our perceptions, stirred our emotions, and compelled us to confront the pressing societal issues that lie at the heart of this devastating sequence of events. Now, more than ever, it's crucial that we come together as a community to continue the important conversations sparked by the Johnsons' legacy. By liking, sharing, and subscribing to this channel, you can be a part of the movement to drive meaningful change and ensure that no family has to endure the kind of heartbreak that the Johnsons experienced. Your engagement with this content not only supports the ongoing efforts to raise awareness and advocate for crucial reforms, but it also connects you to a network of individuals who are equally passionate about making a difference. Together, we can amplify the voices of those who have been affected by mental health challenges, domestic violence, and the systemic failures that allowed this tragedy to unfold. By taking these simple actions, you're not just a passive viewer, you're an active participant in the pursuit of a better, more compassionate future. Your like, share, and subscription can help us reach even more people, inspiring them to join us in this vital mission and creating a ripple effect of positive change that will resonate for generations to come. So, let's stand united in our commitment to honoring the memory of the Johnsons and ensuring that their story becomes a catalyst for meaningful progress. Like, share, and subscribe now, and be a part of the movement that will transform the way we approach these critical issues, one heart and mind at a time.